All right. I'm so excited today to be able to have a conversation with Easin Beck, who is a doula that I've had on my referral list for a long time. I had you on my referral list before we even got to share much of a conversation, but I'm really excited that when people come to this website and are looking for who might be the right doula for them, I'm able to present people who have a wide variety of professional skills and personality types. And to me, I don't know any other doula quite like you. And so I'm excited for people to get to know who you are professionally. And also just sort of the vibe that you carry, the some of the I know you have some cool hobbies and backgrounds and areas of expertise that I think make you a really unique person who's going to be the perfect doula for somebody who's watching this. So thanks, Eason, for spending this time with me today. Um, so can you first we've had a conversation before, and I remember there's a really interesting sort of professional background of what you thought you were gonna be when you grew up, and now you have, I don't know, are you grown up yet? I'm 42, I don't think I'm grown up, so I don't know if you feel grown up yet. But, I would love for you to share a little bit about sort of what you thought you were going to be, what you have filled your time with for fun, but now where you've landed as a birth professional and as a mental health professional.
Thank you so much for having me back, Liz. We talked a little while ago when I was still finishing my master of family therapy, and okay, so I guess what I guess what we talked about back then was, so I was 20 when I got pregnant with my son, who's now going to be 6 this summer. And at the time, I was going to Westchester University. I was studying geography and planning. I thought that I really wanted to be a national park ranger. It seemed like I do have a really deep appreciation for the environment, and I love to be outdoors. So it kind of, I think it was still kind of like a holistic sort of job for me where I could be very connected to like life cycles, but obviously very different from where I ended up, not traveling and living in a national park, but I hope to do that someday. So I was pregnant and working on my undergrad, ended up getting my pregnancy care at Life Cycle Woman Care. And that was, I think, where I first heard of a doula in their childbirth education classes, which we were talking before we went on, how helpful it is to have those really comprehensive classes, because I certainly learned lots of things that I never knew before, um, including what a doula was. And so I had a really positive birth experience there. And it was definitely like a euphoric kind of experience, and it just really changed my perspective on life and also about what I wanted to do with my life. So I was really fascinated with birth. After my experience, I found it to be like I loved it on like a technical and like biological level, and then on just like an emotional and spiritual level as well. So I sort of spent my postpartum recovery resting in bed a lot. I was lucky to be able to do that. Um, and I just read and read and read all of like the background reading to do first I did a DONA Birth International training, or DONA, not Birth International, but DONA training. So I kind of had looked up the reading list for that, and I just spent like my son's first year, like reading all of that. And I found that after doing the reading for like a year to 18 months, I still was really passionate about it. And I told myself that I would get the training if I did all the background stuff and still was interested. And I was. So I took that training, and that was also a great experience. And so that was, I guess, 4 or 5, that was like 4 years ago. And I've been attending births since. And then I also trained through Birth Arts International. And in that time, I also started my Master of Family Therapy because I realized I wanted to kind of serve couples and individuals more deeply in a different way than I was serving them through birth. So currently, I do both. I'm a community mental health therapist at a clinic in Philadelphia. We do telehealth. And here's my son.
Mhm.
Hey, Tristan. You want something to eat? You can get the banana bread that's on the counter.
Another hat that never goes away is being a mother. So and I think that's what, the behind the scenes that not everybody sees. So I actually like that we get a little voice and get a glimpse into understanding that you're also a mother. When I'm trying to help doula matchmake with people, I often say, there's doulas. Sometimes the starting point is, well, I know doulas who don't have their own children. I know doulas who have kids and they have like small kids now. They're sort of in that very mothering part of life. And I know
Mhm.
doulas who are grandmothers that are in that grandmother phase of life. And so sometimes for people, that's even their first way of like, which of those three ways do I want to go? Because that energy of someone who maybe has all the freedom in life that you have when you don't have your own children, but also someone who has that presence of like, it's very close to me to remember having given birth and to have all the needs of my little person right now, or someone who's in that sort of stage of being able to watch their own children become children. So I love that. I love that we can acknowledge that that's this other undergirding really important part of you, is that your own birth experience and your own mothering experience is part of what gave you this vision to do this. And
Mhm.
it is always a juggling. I think as birth professionals we often have multiple hats that we're wearing, and so you have something really unique to offer in all the different hats that you've chosen.
Yeah,
um
different hats.
yeah. So right now, if people are interested in finding you on social media or sort of seeing the overarching what you're doing, you're Easin Beck Doula and Family Services, and you're at Therapy with Easin on Instagram, so that if people want to connect more and sort of see what some of those things are.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
yeah.
think I'll mention now that so a lot of that says Brandywine Valley Doula Services right now. That was kind of
Mhm.
like the term that I was using before. But my friend, my dear friend Kelly, who is on Brandywine Valley with me, I'm super happy for her. She just bought a house with her partner and moved. So I'm transitioning. I'm kind of doing some rebranding, and which is like it's so sad and happy. But you can still find me at Brandywine Valley for now. But I'm slowly probably going to change some page names over. But it all leads to the same place, so you can reach me that way. But yeah, there will be some rebranding and name changing soon. Um, but yes, like I said, that Instagram is good, as well as what should we say? My doula match is actually really good to reach me.
Okay. We can connect to that. And one other shout out, I think when I first met you, I think that your handle at that time was that, were you Rockstar Doula at the time at one
I
point?
I was. That was like my you mentioned my hobbies. So I am in a rock band, and then I also kind of like picked up modeling through that. Like I had met some different photographers, and then I was finding that that ended up being more of a space for like the artistic hobbies. So I ended up just changing that to Eason back because it was less confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
For like music related things end up going, which I'm always like happy to talk to doula people there, but it's like,
Yeah.
that, so that ended up being more the artistic pursuits page. And I think that's part of why I like love part of being for me being a therapist isn't, it's also about like identity and motherhood. I love working with people on kind of like rediscovering the things that are helpful for you to like take care of yourself, while taking care of your kids. Which you are such an inspiring person with that. Like you have, like, so everyday thin places. I don't want to get us totally sidetracked, but
Yeah.
like, I really connect with how you also have your many like outlets and artistic and like interactive ways of expressing yourself, which I think can be so hard once you are a parent,
Yeah.
to devote that time. So that's something I love to do as a therapist, is work with people who are finding that way to really find their sense of identity after becoming a parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love it. I think that, and then one of the reasons I love to do these video interviews is people can look at your website, but I think when they hear your voice and they see, even just to like get to see like the cool color that you have your wall painted behind you, and the light, the light that you can see in someone's eyes in a video versus just reading I'm sure Doula Match is a really helpful resource, but you just read a paragraph and look at a picture. And I mean, when you're hiring a doula, you're hiring a professional, but you're hiring someone who it's such a personal relationship. And so I think that there is the a quality doula could take care of pretty much anybody, but you in all of your many facets are just right for somebody who's going to be able to watch this. So yeah. So I think one of the questions that I really enjoyed asking some of the other doulas that I've interviewed for this project has been, I like to think about how and know about how different people practice self-care after birth, because birth is obviously so much work for the person giving birth and for their partner, and you don't ever know exactly how long it's going to last. So you as a doula might be there for 18 hours with someone who had a labor that was 36 hours. And so when you have a family settled and when you leave and you head back to your own space, what are some of the self-care rituals, or what's on your checklist to take care of yourself and restore yourself after you've given so much of yourself to physically and emotionally to this person?
First, I want to say I'm sorry for like moving the chair while we were talking. He's like, the dog is over there, like, look at this beautiful chair.
That's a
So,
gorgeous chair. Oh my gosh.
yeah, an awesome mom who I know is my favorite artist, and she painted that, but the dog's eating it.
Oh,
So, so self care. Um, I would have to say it looks like a little different since shutdown, because before I used to love to go out and do something very social, like go like play an open mic. I always, birth is just, I think one of my favorite things about it is you connect with people in like such a, like you see them in such like a beautiful and special moment that I tend to be more of like a withdrawn or introverted person, but I think it's hard for me to leave a birth and not just be like so amazed by like humanity and like where we come from, that I usually end up doing, where I tend to be more of like a solitude seeker, that I would often find myself like really craving being around people. So I would go like play an open mic or something and be more social than usual.
yeah.
I find that would fill me up after a birth. So I would say now it's more connecting with nature, like go out and do like a hike somewhere, or be here with my dogs and loved ones. And then I guess this is another shout out would be massage therapy is something that has been really helpful for me. I absolutely love this place called the Healing Sanctuary, with Hillary Stone. That's in Exton, so it's not far from where I live, but she's just absolutely amazing, and so supportive of the birth community as well. They have a great pelvic floor PT there. So that can be so helpful for recovering physically from a really long labor. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great resource. I was just actually recording a birth story interview with a mom, and she said in the first hour of postpartum, a nurse or midwife mentioned like, I think that you would be a good candidate for postpartum physical therapy. And she said it felt like a little odd that someone mentioned it right that moment, in
Mhm.
this like freshly having given birth, but she was glad that they did, and because it can just be a life changer for people that are dealing with pain or other issues postpartum that they think are just part of oh well, I had a baby, and not realize that sometimes some simple interventions and exercises with a postpartum physical therapist, a pelvic floor physical therapist, can make a world of difference. So that is I'm tucking away that resource for sure. And massage, of course. I would yeah, I think you give so much of yourself physically and emotionally, and I would say even spiritually
Mhm.
in that birthing space. And I think for me, massage is that one place where I sort of recover physically and emotionally and spiritually to be in that space of self-care. So that's
Mhm.
a that's a brilliant self-care option.
Mhm.
Um Yeah, and I guess the other thing that I might want to ask is, I mean, I think people can get a good vibe for who you are and what your values are and what your skills are. And I mean, I'm just envisioning like if someone has the guts to stand up in an open mic and to know themselves and know they have something to offer, I want someone like that to be a voice to help me find my way through birth. But maybe apart from these things that you've already shared, are there ways that you would articulate your your philosophy of birth or your approach to the way that you support people that you think might help people understand who you are if they're trying to figure out who the right doula is for them?
I would say I'm very, and this is who I am, probably a doula, therapist, and person. I'm very like down to earth. I bring skills, but at the end of the day, like we're both people. And I'm very much about there not being much of a like power differential between me and my clients. I'm about what they want and giving them the options to explore what they want. Always like if you don't know your options, you don't have any. But at the end of the day, like my agenda is your agenda. And I work with people who have all kinds of different goals for what they want their birth to look like. So I would say I'm very like client centered and I do always like to mention that I have a special heart for working with sexual abuse survivors. That's a specialized training that I took through Penny Simpkin, When Survivors Give Birth. That's something that I really care about in both counseling, and that's a population I really care about working with, both counseling and as a doula. Um, and I think when everyone benefits from care that is like very consent aware and trauma informed. I feel like that term gets a little bit tossed around, but when we're really like sensitive to creating a safe environment for people to express their needs, everyone benefits
Yeah.
in the process. So that's just something I like to throw out there because it's very important to me. Um, yeah, and also, so you can tell I like dogs.
Yeah.
I've done home births, and I'm totally fine with all kinds of animals being present.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and I guess just a more specific detail question. Do you have a sort of area of service as far as hospitals or places of birth that you're willing versus that's a little too far to go? Or do you have some areas that you have special, strong relationships that you especially like to serve people that are birthing at a certain place?
um, I obviously have like a special place in my heart for life cycle woman care because that's where I had my son, and I've done probably like a third, honestly, probably a third of my births there. So that's always like a special place to return to. Service area, I don't really go into New Jersey. I go like about an hour each way, and I live in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Like I could walk to Phoenixville Hospital. So I go up to an hour from there, which includes all of Philadelphia. Um, and I could go out to Lancaster, but like I said, birth center kind of holds a special place. So do home births. That was not an option I personally had access to, but I really love it and have enjoyed those experiences and would probably do that if I have the opportunity in the future.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but there's special births everywhere. I don't know.
Yeah. Awesome. I just had somebody asking about doulas that travel to Lancaster, so we'll talk about that after we are done recording.
Oh yeah, I'm only 40 minutes from Lancaster, and that's actually where my partner Kelly would just moved. So,
Awesome.
um, yeah.
Cool. It's good to have those connections. Yeah, well, I'm so glad that we got the chance to catch up and yeah, and I know that there's people that are looking for someone and they're gonna watch this video and be like, this is it. This is the doula for me. So I appreciate that you are available as someone that I can refer people to because it makes me feel really good to know that when I as an educator, like I'm limited in how I can give myself beyond that time in class. But when people are passed off to the care of a doula, it gives me such confidence and great hope for them having a birth experience that they get the care that they need and that they have the emotional experience that is going to propel them into parenthood as well. So,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah.
Like propels us forward. But yeah, and we work off of each other. So I'm, like I said earlier, I'm very appreciative of the wonderful like childbirth ed we have available.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will have we'll have a little some text to go along with this that will have all of your socials so people don't need to like have scribbled anything down. We'll
Mhm.
make sure people that can connect with you and get all the details that they would need if they're interested in following up with an interview and hiring you. But thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks you so much for having me back.